Jeremy here from Weekly Narrative. We're downtown San Francisco at the Civic Center where we are marching for our lives. We're marching against guns here. We got probably several thousand people out here with signs. We're going to go around, talk to them, see what they got to say, and see how we can protect our kids and get rid of guns. Let's go. We're just out here seeing, what people's opinions are and how we can, curb the gun epidemic. Now, your sign says AR-15 is made for hunting humans.
Yes.
So what do you mean by that exactly? What's your message here?
That the gun is made for killing people. That is its purpose. With a muzzle velocity of 2,200 miles per hour, a bullet goes through you, it will blow you to pieces. It's not designed for hunting anything else. Now, if you want my full program, here it is.
Yeah, let me take a look here. What do you got? Sales to over 21. Okay, so you want to raise the purchasing age?
If you read that, you'll see that it says that is totally insufficient.
What should the purchasing age be?
Purchasing age, that's fine. But none of these weapons should ever be permitted to be sold. Ever.
So, as functionally, it's kind of the same as like a hunting rifle. There's actually some hunting rifles that have larger caliber than the AR-15. Should we get rid of those as well, or where do we draw the line?
I don't know what you mean by that. There are no rifles like that are designed for hunting. You can't have a rifle bigger than this and have anything left of the deer. Maybe if you're hunting elephants, but I don't believe in hunting elephants. Do you?
Not necessarily. So,
No.
but there's a similar functionality as far. I mean, the muzzle velocity is not going to make much difference between a hunting rifle and an AR-15. It's still going to kill somebody.
You're absolutely wrong.
It's still going to kill.
Absolutely wrong. Let me tell you what happens.
They're both going to kill them.
When the bullet goes through you at this velocity, the shock wave it sets up in your body can actually burst blood vessels that are several inches away from the bullet. That is not true of a pistol, which has a muzzle velocity of 1/3 of this gun.
Well, there's different calibers for pistol bullets as well.
Yes, there are.
So do you want to ban those as well? Are we banning? Is the logic is that we're banning based on caliber of the bullet?
We're banning based on the function of the machine. This machine is designed for human beings. It's not designed for big game. That is bullshit. It is identical to an M16.
So if we got rid of, let's say we got rid of all AR-15s, do you think we'd start to see hunting rifles being used in shootings? Since they just use the next best thing anyway?
I think you can kill somebody with a knife, right?
There's actually more knife deaths than there are rifle deaths in America on a yearly basis. Almost 5 times more compared to rifles. So yeah, I agree.
Where did you get that number?
CDC, I believe.
That is total bullshit number.
I think it's FBI. It's either CDC or FBI, but yeah, 5 times more people are killed by knives every year than rifles.
Yeah, I don't believe a word of that.
So
not a word of that.
Let's say that is true though.
Here's what's happened here. This is what guns do every year in the U.S.
I don't imagine that this guy's going to get a lot of support out here, but he seems to have a calm demeanor and seems to be willing to talk to people, which is always good. That's what we're out here to do, is talk to people too. Well, that's not very nice. Are you against the Second Amendment?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, I don't support the NRA, and I think that the NRA has funded extremely. We're just lining their pockets with these tragedies. Like, the more tragedies we have, the more money that they get.
What do they do with all that money?
With the campaigns, the bills, and politicians are supporting and putting money into the NRA to continue these campaigns against gun control.
Okay, so you're for gun control. I take it. Yeah. Okay. What do you want? What do you think we can do with guns to stop this kind of stuff from happening?
That's something that I'm still trying to figure out. I'm still trying to get myself educated by coming to these things.
That's good.
And yeah, that's what I want for everyone.
Do you think we could ever get to a point where mass shootings never happen anymore? You think that's possible?
Ultimately, in the whole reality of it, I'd hope so. With statistically, I think that they would go down drastically. At this point, they're happening so often that the future looks so grim for that.
But what if I told you that gun deaths and gun violence have actually been going down consistently over the last 20 years?
From wait,
Overall.
overall in every.
Yeah, overall. Well, violence overall has gone down. Also, gun violence has gone down, especially in the last 2 decades. But I think the reason that we are so upset about it is because the mass media, they push these when this stuff happens, they're really pushing it out there, you know what I mean? So when one happens, we just hear about it forever and ever and ever, and it's repeated over and over, you know what I mean? But yeah, overall gun violence has gone down.
I think that we do hear about it, especially because of the media, and I agree with some of that statement. But I think that we should be hearing about it, and I think that I don't believe that it should be happening at all. Like, why are kids dying? Like, hundreds of kids are dying.
Yeah, everyone agrees that's definitely a bad thing.
Yeah. And
But
with more gun control, that could go down drastically, and we may not hear about it as much, but since we are, I think it's fucked up.
all right, well, anything else you want to say?
I'm good.
Well, thanks for your time. Appreciate it. Thanks for sharing your opinion. I'm glad you're out here. I'm glad you're out here trying to learn and talk to people. That's good.
Needs to lose its status as a tax-exempt organization. That's absolutely appalling, and it's got to be illegal. It's absurd to think that teachers should have guns in the classroom. That's not how we teach. We can't have, as my sign says, we can't have fear in the classroom. That's not how people learn. So we need to come up to the quality of other industrialized countries in the world and many other countries in the world, even non-industrialized countries, and simply not have guns among the common people.
You want to get rid of guns altogether?
I absolutely do. And how
do we do that?
Laws.
You need to make a law to force people to turn in their guns. Is that what?
Yeah, absolutely. That's my opinion.
You think people will do that though?
No.
So how is that realistic?
Imagine.
Imagination, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, it's a lot of imagination going on out here today.
You don't seem to be aware that we're the only industrialized country that has this kind of death rate.
Do you know how we rank against other countries as far as gun deaths?
Yes, I do.
Where are we at?
Yes, I do. We are 5 times as high as the next one down the line, except for Russia. Russia is higher. Russia is the only exception.
So overall, we rank number 1 in the world in gun ownership. There's over 300 million guns in America.
Yes.
There's more guns than people, essentially, but we're actually 28th as gun deaths go
No, that's
worldwide.
not true. That's absolutely false.
What if that was true?
It's not true. I looked it up.
Where do you think we are in that list? You compared us to the next guy down, but where do you think we are in that list?
Industrialized countries, we are absolutely number 1, with the exception of Russia.
Okay. Test. Excuse me.
Thank you. Yeah.
Can I ask you about your signs? Speaking of signs.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I'm curious. I didn't get a chance to read the full thing. Trained to be a teacher, not a sharpshooter. So are you a teacher?
Yes, I am.
What grade do you teach?
I actually teach 2nd grade through high school.
Okay, so what's your opinion on the whole situation out here right now, with the guns and the mass shootings and the protests and changing the laws?
My opinion is that there is no place for fear in our schools, and that we need to have tighter regulations on what kind of weapons are being sold in the United States. It's just simple, really.
What do we need to change? What needs to get outlawed for this to kind of get fixed?
Well, I'm sure gun enthusiasts would bicker about the details of the words, but we're talking
They always do.
about semi-automatic weapons, assault weapons, anything that is a military weapon of war should not be owned by a citizen.
Okay. Now, Columbine, I'm not sure if you're aware, but Columbine actually happened during the federal assault weapons ban from 1994 to 2004. So the assault weapons were already outlawed. Even the manufacturer of them was outlawed, but we still saw the mass shootings happen. Do we have to get rid of the guns that are out there too, and not just stop the sales of guns? Because if there's already guns out there,
Yeah, that's a big controversy. I do feel like it's possible, though. I mean, Australia recalled their weapons, and they paid people to get them back off the streets. it's just out of control. This is like osmosis, you know. You make something, it is disseminated in the communities, and now we have this major problem. So we have to turn it back, and we have to find a way to get back to a more comfortable society existence for everyone. And our students are the front line, and that's just not cool.
I agree. Do you think it's possible to not have any mass shootings anymore? I know the kind of the sentiment of the speeches were that this, you know, no more lives are going to be lost. You know what I mean? No more shootings. Do you think that's ever going to be actually realistically achievable through laws?
You know, you're talking to a teacher. I'm like a hopeful in every way. So yes, I do believe we can come back around, and this is about our leaving no child behind, and that includes, you know, funding our schools properly and giving schools the resources they need to not let kids slip through the cracks, and that's what happens when we have these kids in their, you know, exhibits of these major violent actions. We have to catch these kids and teach them that we value them, and then this is not going to be happening.
Do you see, as a teacher, do you see situations where kids are like kind of isolated or bullied or targeted in school environments that might make them be resentful towards school at all? Do you see anything like that? Because that's one of the theories floating around, is that, for example, at Parkland, the kid, he was bullied, so he wanted to attack the people that were bullying him. What do you think about that?
Sure, the kids that were murdered there weren't his bulliers.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, there's always going to be kids not doing the right thing, but that's what our public school systems are for. That's what our communities are for. That's what our families are for. We have to pay attention to all levels of support for these kids.
I agree.
A lot of these kids don't have fathers that are involved in their lives. A lot of these kids have parents that are working all day and aren't able to check in with them. You know, we need to like really pay attention, and you know, that's just part of being a good member of our community. And if that's not happening at home, then the community needs to pick up the slack. And it's a sad day when, you know, kids are at home playing video games and feeling like that is some way to take out their energy is in a violent way.
Yeah, I agree completely. One last question, quick one for you. About a week ago, we saw a shooting in Maryland High School. That was it was stopped by a resource officer on campus that had a handgun. He shot the shooter one time, and there were no deaths. The shooter did shoot 2 people, but they didn't die. Do you think having resource officers or police officers on campus to stop shootings and to stop attackers is a viable idea? We don't want to arm teachers, but is it a good idea to have cops on campus?
I honestly can't picture that. I don't really want guns on campus either. I'm not sure how we're going to move forward.
What do you think would have happened if there wasn't a resource officer in that Maryland high school to stop that kid, though?
I'm not going to speculate. You know, this is really up to our community. We know who's in our community. It wasn't a surprise. Most of these situations weren't a surprise to the community. So
it seems like it was a failure on law enforcement's end to talk to this kid. You know, all the reports and whatnot that they had about him. They knew he was mentally ill. They knew he was troubled, but they didn't do anything about it. You know, the police didn't act before it happened. I think that's where the failure was in this one.
Definitely bring mental health into this conversation as well. You know, we need to stop our major military funding and put that money back into our schools and back into our social justice programs and back into our mental health programs. You know, we need to take care of our communities. I don't really have anything else to stress besides that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your opinion and time.
Yeah, awesome.
Appreciate it.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
being on.
Sorry about that.
What is your affiliation?
Our media company?
Yeah.
It's called Weekly Narrative.
Weekly Narrative?
Weekly Narrative, yeah. We're a classical
How do
liberal
I-
media outlet, and
How do I get a hold of you? How do I see you?
you can
How
see
do
us on Facebook or YouTube.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
It's called
Weekly Narrative.
Weekly Narrative. Okay. Yeah, I'll look for you.